Welcome to Top Tier Wrestling, your ultimate destination for all things WWE. Whether you're a hardcore wrestling fanatic or just a casual viewer, we've got you covered with the latest news, in-depth show reviews, and our unfiltered opinions on everything happening in the world of professional wrestling. Get ready to step into the ring with us and stay on top of the wrestling world. This is Top Tier Wrestling. Welcome to Top Tier Wrestling. I'm your host, Josh, the Juggernaut of Justice, and joining me, as always, is my phenomenal co-host, the Siren of SmackDowns, Dawn. Tonight, we're covering WWE Backlash from May 10th. Let's get into it.
Whoop, whoop.
All right. Backlash. The first PLE since WrestleMania.
Backlash. Yeah.
And this one is taking place in St. Louis, Missouri, in the Enterprise Center, the home of the Viper, Randy Orton. The first match of the night, and they're opening up strong, starting with LA Knight's entrance, is the Fatal 4-Way for Jacob Fatu's United States Championship. And it's LA Knight, Damian Priest, Drew McIntyre, and, of course, Jacob Fatu. Most likely with Solo Sikoa in tow. And this match was kind of a banger, I thought. With all of these guys having a chance to shine, like right out the gate, it looked like LA Knight might like win the whole damn thing in the first 2 minutes.
Yeah. It kind of felt like that several times in this match, where LA Knight was just about to get it. But then also same thing with Drew McIntyre. Yeah, this and there was even a part in this particular match where every single person in it ended up doing like their finisher to somebody else in the match.
Yeah, there was like a whole sequence where each guy did their finisher to another guy, and yeah, I can go into more detail about it, but go ahead.
No, yeah. I mean, so yeah, this and kinda no, this was definitely a banger. This was the right way to open this PLE. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't have a lot of excitement. I mean, I saw some good matches on the title card. Okay, I did on the card. I did. But I wasn't like super excited for this particular PLE. But nah. This match, this opening match was like, are you sure about that? Back from when John Cena was good. So yeah, this was a great match. High octane.
Indeed.
Fun. It was fun. Fun. That's the right word.
Yeah,
That's surprising.
It was a really fun match.
Little surprises there.
Indeed. Just to go over some of the highlights of this match, because I really enjoyed it. These guys, it was a great match going into it because any of these dudes could win it. Like, there's nobody in the match where it's like, you ain't got no chance. It's not like LA Knight, Damian Priest, Jacob Fatu, and like Akira Tozawa. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Right.
So super good match. And to kind of refer back to that one high spot you were talking about, it was I think Jacob Fatu comes down with a swanton bomb on, I don't know, it might have been Drew McIntyre. But then LA Knight hits the BFT on him, and then I want to say Priest responds with a South of Heaven. That was at least, and that was one of them. And then Drew McIntyre comes out of the corner and hits Priest with a Claymore. And Priest was on his knees when he got hit with the Claymore, so he turns and accidentally falls, like as he's selling the Claymore. He falls on top of LA Knight, which the ref interprets to be an attempt at a pin and starts counting. So I think Drew McIntyre quickly ran over there to break up the count. And it it was both cool and comedic at the same time. It was a
Yeah.
really good spot. The other big kind of spot worth noting was a little bit later in the match. Drew McIntyre and Damian Priest just decide, they're about it against one another and fight their way kind of off the side of the timekeeper's table, kind of into the crowd.
Oh, yeah. You're talking about like so basically, Drew was about to win. He had somebody pinned, and
Yes.
and Damian Priest yanked the ref out of the out of the ring, and that
Yeah.
started. Drew sat up and looked at Damian like, you son of bitch.
Yeah, if looks could kill, Damian Priest, if he's a cat, just lost 7 of his 9 lives from
7
that
are
look alone.
gone, baby. He is down to 2. Hell, he is down to 1.5. And then Drew was like, well, it's no longer about this match. I'm going to try to kill you now.
Yeah. And so that gets them kind of off doing their own thing, and they fight they brawl towards the production area, and then they end up on top of 2 of the like massive, I guess, storage boxes that are overlooking conveniently placed tables, like 2 of them next to each other.
Convenient as fuck. Always.
Exactly. And it looks like they're fighting at the top of the box that's overlooking these things for a little bit, and it looks like Drew McIntyre is going to attempt a vertical suplex on Priest, but Priest ends up raking his eyes, and then while McIntyre's trying to recover from that, he hits a gigantic South of Heaven choke slam that takes both of them off the top of that production crate and through those 2 tables, and that pretty much removes them from the remainder of this match. Like they're just they're done.
Yeah, they're done. You can put a fork in them. They'll be back. They'll be back later.
Yep. And so kind of heading in towards how this match ended and some of the cool story beats that go with that leaves LA Knight and Jacob Fatu pretty much wrestling the remainder of this match. And in short order, Knight ends up with Fatu outside of the ring, and he pulls the hood off of the announce table, and he slams Fatu into it a couple of times, and it looks like he's setting Fatu up. He lays him on the table flat, and it looks like LA Knight is going to try and hit the megastar elbow from off of the top rope through the announce table. And we were both like,
yeah,
come on, can you do that? Can you make that leap? Well, we don't end up finding out, because that's when Solo, steps onto the stage and pulls Fatu off of the table. And this pisses off LA Knight. And then while LA Knight is kind of closing in on Solo, from behind kind of the timekeeper's area steps Jeff Cobb, who has recently signed from New Japan to the WWE, and Jeff Cobb pretty much attacks LA Knight and splatters him with like a running crossbody with Knight up against the turnbuckle on the outside, and then he rolls Knight back into the ring, and Jacob Fatu is looking simultaneously like slightly confused at what Jeff Cobb is doing there and slightly pissed off that they're interfering with his title defense. But nonetheless, after Solo sort of gestures that LA Knight is just in there waiting for him to go, get the pin, Fatu kind of gets on the page and gets back into the ring. And since LA Knight's pretty much like out of it in the bottom turnbuckle, he immediately nails the running hip attack on him and then pulls him out of the corner and into the perfect position for the double jump moonsault. And of course, from that point on, it's academic that he gets the 1, 2, 3. But a real slobber knocker of a match. I think this might be one of the best matches of the night for pure action.
Yeah, I agree. And I remember, so I was trying to read Fatu's face, right? Like, because I mean, there's the initial like, what the fuck, right? But then I couldn't tell if he was like annoyed, and I'm gonna assume that it was more annoyance because he feels he didn't need any of that. Like, I'm pretty sure he felt like he could have handled the situation himself. So maybe he's gonna give Solo a talking to. But the first thing I thought though when I saw Cobb was like fear. I was like, oh my god, these two as a tag team, this is not something that should happen. This is how you destroy things. But we can't
Yeah,
have nice
yeah.
things right
What
here.
you're talking about Solo and Cobb or Fatu and
No,
Cobb?
Fatu and Cobb. Yeah,
Oh yeah, yeah. Jesus. Um, I don't know. I think it's a lot of things going through his head because it also changes the balance of power between Jacob Fatu and Solo Sikoa that Solo's got a new soldier.
yeah,
So it's probably a
yeah,
lot of things.
yeah,
It's a combination of who the hell's this guy because he ain't bloodline. I mean not by blood, you know what I mean.
yeah, yeah.
And so Jeff Cobb shows up. I think you're right. I think it was also a look of like, I'm all gas and no brakes, and I didn't need any of your damn help, you filthy animal.
Yeah.
Um, and then
Not I mean.
lastly, yeah, exactly. And then it's some of what I think might also go into it is how does this change the dynamic?
Yeah,
So it was probably a lot of things all at once, and Jacob Fatu sold it really well. He ends up like he doesn't go off on anybody. He doesn't say anything. He just sort of has that like concerned slash puzzled look on his face. But he takes his belt and he walks between the two of them, kind of on his own back to the back, and they follow, kind of behind him.
yeah.
So we shall see how exactly Jeff Cobb has entered the chat and what that's going to do for the
Yes.
dynamic between Solo and Fatu, because
I'm here for
they've
it.
they've been heavily overshadowing that, like there's tensions there and or foreshadowing, I should say, tensions between those two that make me think they're setting up a like falling out between Solo and Fatu.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious to see how this goes, especially with like everybody else in the bloodline out injured, or like
Yeah,
the
that's right. Yeah.
the new bloodline, Solo's bloodline. So he's doing a recruitment drive, it seems.
Yeah. I'm very like I just really, really, really want to see Fatu and Cobb's interaction. I think that's what I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, I'm real curious. So it did a good job. It put on a compelling match, and it did a good job of leaving me with questions that I'm going to need answers by watching SmackDown for. So
Yeah.
it did what it needed to do.
Yeah.
Um, and as is the case with a lot of these PLEs, there is pretty much just like commercials between. So there's not really any promos we need to go over.
Yeah.
So and I'm not gonna go too much over any of the commercials at all. So moving from that fantastic match, we come to our second big match of the night, which is for the Women's Intercontinental Championship.
Ooh-wee.
The reigning and defending Lyra Valkyria versus a very upset with her Becky Lynch.
She was quite cross. Quite cross with this
Quite, quite, because the last time we saw him interact, like Lyra was beating the brakes off of Becky.
one. And that kind of sort of continued. Except Becky returned the favor. Like, man, this match. Okay, you know that heat that they were trying to put
Yeah.
on the heat that they were trying to put on Charlotte Flair and Tiffany Stratton. Remember that?
Yes, yeah, I
Yeah,
sure do.
they
And you're
couldn't do
taking the
it.
thought right out of my brain here. So
Yeah,
yeah, go.
they couldn't do it. They couldn't do it. That's right. They couldn't have did it with those two ladies, but they sure as hell did it with Becky Lynch and Lyra Valkyria. Look, like
They
from
cannot do it.
yeah, they couldn't do it from jump. From jump, this was already better heat, right? Becky's out there basically demanding that Lyra like thank her for literally her entire existence, including the dude she's with. Who we saw in the audience, by the way, adorbs. These two would be adorable together. Oh my god. Anyway, side note, ladies. Side note. But aside from that, Becky has been demanding that Lyra like basically kiss the ring on her entire life and career. And Lyra's like, the hell you say? So listen, that's all the heat we need, okay? Lyra's like, I used to look up to you, but now you're just like fucking conceited. You're outside of your mind, the biggest narcissist, whatever. And how do I know Becky's being a narcissist? Because she's going after Lyra's belt. Are you serious, Becky? Becky, stop it. You want to go, you're basically going backwards right now. So you just want that belt because somebody else, because Lyra has that belt. Like you were just having a temper tantrum right now. And that temper tantrum continues into Backlash. So this match was, I knew it was going to be good. Lyra can bring it in the ring. Like she really can. She is one to keep. Because she's an overall good showman. She's good on the mic. She's good in the ring. Like this is a superstar we got here. So definitely keep this one. She brought it in this freaking match, and Becky returned that favor, honey. We all knew Becky was gonna bring it. Like we all knew. But this freaking match was full of like I think Becky did a fantastic job of putting Lyra over without making herself look like a chump, right? I mean,
Yeah. Yep.
we're talking like false finish after false finish. There's a point where Lyra's like, "What do I have to do?" Basically, to
And I kept
stop this
thinking,
woman.
your finisher, you know?
And then there was a point where Becky was thinking the same thing. Now, this is after she had attempted her finisher, and it still just wasn't like Lyra's like, "Nice try, homegirl." This match was a banger. Like I'm telling you, it just continued. The high octane, like scream at the top of your lungs because this is awesome chant was in your body. It continued throughout the night, sorta. Till it didn't. And when it didn't, man, we'll get to that. We'll get to that. But this match, this was a great match. And you know what? And now that I'm thinking about it, because I'm going over in my head, I really don't know which match I'm gonna say is the match of the night, if any. I don't know. But this match was definitely up there. It was so top tier.
This was a fantastic match for a variety of reasons. And you mentioned like Lyra and Becky here pulled off exactly what Charlotte and Tiffany were trying to.
Yeah.
Only they did it successfully.
Yep.
And if including in terms of the in-ring action, like it was a much better in-ring contest between these two as well. If I wasn't fairly confident that this was entirely work, I would think this match looks like a work shoot. Like they made it look like there was some real bad blood here. And there was, I want to say that Becky got like several different finishers in, I guess, because I feel like she hit Lyra with the manhandle slam like 3 different times, and Lyra kicked out of it each time. And Lyra, I want to say, attempted the Nightwing maybe twice, but only successfully pulled it off once, and Becky was able to kick out of that at a 2 count. The way this match ends up finishing is they're not clearly having any success with their finisher holds. So you end up with Becky Lynch like putting a thumb to Lyra's eye and then trying to do a quick roll up. But even with her eye, like, you know, even selling that her eye is injured, she managed to almost reflexively flip Becky into her own pinning predicament. And that was enough to get a quick 1, 2, 3. And this leaves Becky furious. And Lyra is still kind of selling that her eye hurts. And the way she's selling it is she's sort of like cupping over her nose, so people are thinking, well, she have a broken nose? And so either she's selling the eye or she's selling a little bit earlier before that. She was, I want to say, drop toe holded into like the second turnbuckle or flung into the second turnbuckle. So it could have been either one of those things. But Becky goes off on her and attacks her from behind and applies the disarmor to her. And it's not until Adam Pearce and a whole bunch of other officials like were able to kind of pry her off of Lyra Valkyria that Becky leaves the ring finally. And like she had to be escorted out. I think one of the officials was walking very closely behind her to keep her from trying to run back to do more damage,
Which she tried to do.
which she tried to do, but
But she ran
you
into
know
that
it
wall.
didn't work. Yeah, the wall was there. And eventually Lyra is able to kind of, get her bearings enough to roll out of the ring with her championship, but she didn't. It looked like a kind of Pyrrhic victory because she was limping back, and Becky
Yeah.
was like, Becky was not limping back. I'll say
Yeah.
that. So
Becky
it was a
Becky was
hard.
sauntering back.
It was a very hard fought victory for Lyra Valkyria, and I have to say, this might be the best showing we've had yet on the main roster from Lyra Valkyria, and
I
it was a
agree.
fantastic showing from Becky Lynch. I know she's the veteran, and we should all be like, well, yeah, of course, but she has been gone for a while, and this is her first match back. So it
Yeah.
is worth giving her a little bit of propers for not looking ring rusted at all. Like
Absolutely.
Becky was on point, Lyra's on point, fantastic fucking match. Um, I think we had two predictions for how this would go. It was either Lyra Valkyria somehow wins, and that did come true, or it was Bailey interferes and Lyra Valkyria wins because neither of us
Yeah.
saw any path where Lyra's losing the belt this early on in it.
Yes.
So we got this one right. I
Ish.
don't think reflecting back on that first match, I don't think my prediction came true. I can't remember what yours was, but mine was
my
that
prediction?
Solo would cost Jacob the match, I think is what I was saying, and that would infuriate or like be the powder keg moment for a falling out between the two of them. None of us predicted Jeff Cobb showing up.
No, not at all. No. I think my prediction was similar to yours. I think I agreed with you. Um yeah, or no, actually I thought that Jacob Fatu would retain unless Solo intervened and cost him the match somehow.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. So your prediction was that you felt he would retain unless my prediction came true. And
Yeah.
my prediction didn't quite play out that way. They did escalate tensions between Solo and Jacob, but it wasn't like
Yeah.
in the way that I foresaw. And you were just straight up right. Like he retains the belt.
I think that's what I said.
It sounds correct to me. But yeah, fantastic two matches into this Backlash. Like really, really good. Um,
Yeah, I agree.
in between ending that match and before we get to the next one, they show us again a really big clip of like the history of John Cena battling with Randy Orton.
Yes, as a reminder, just in case those people that are watching have no idea that they've had
A
matches
25-year
before.
rivalry.
Yeah. Just in case you don't know, here it is again. You saw it last night, and then you saw it Monday, and then you saw it last Friday, and then you saw it the last Monday before. But here it is again. Brand new for your eyes. They don't even
One more
add new
again.
shit to it. They don't even add new shit. They just fucking play the same thing. Like, stop it. How very dare you?
Yep. True facts. So I don't think there's anyone that eyeballs WWE programming at this point that has not seen the feature-length clip of John Cena and Randy Orton's rivalry over these past 25 years.
Stop playing. Y'all have done synced it. Stop it.
But that brings us to our third match, and that is going to be Dominic Mysterio defending his Intercontinental Championship against Penta El Cero Miedo.
You know what? I think this one is my favoriteest match. I think this one is it. Because we have Penta. I mean, you can't go wrong with Penta, right? But then we
You
also
can.
got it. No, you can't. But then we also got us some Dominic Mysterio, which is personally, probably in my personal, humble opinion, the greatest luchador that ever existed. The greatest Mysterio to ever do it. You don't agree? I will fight you. Dirty Dom is legend in the making. In the making. There, I said it. So I think that's why.
What?
I think that's why this one is my favorite. And not only
Yeah,
that, not only
you
was
you
he
realize you're talking about Dominique, not Ray, right?
who? I don't know no Ray. Dominic Mysterio. What? I don't know nothing about no Ray. But I know a Dominic though. Anyway, this match was so good. And for not just because, like, I know everybody's thinking, oh, maybe Penta just beat the snot out of Dominic. No, no, no. Dominic brought the fire. He brought the look. Penta said he wanted to smoke, and Dominic said, fuck that. Here's the whole flame, my guy. This match was so good. So fun. So good. You know what? I'm gonna say it again. So good. If you guys didn't know, so good. Josh, what did you think?
I agree. And for a variety of reasons. One, Penta looked good here. I don't think anyone familiar with Penta is going to be surprised by that. So what is surprising was how fucking good Dominic Mysterio looked here. Like,
Yep.
he's been getting better and better in the ring, but this might be his absolute best showing ever.
I think you're right.
I mean, he was killing it. Up until this point, you would think that a Dominic Mysterio Penta match would be woefully lopsided without absolutely a bunch of fuckery from the Judgment Day. And that wasn't the case. I mean, there was ultimately fuckery from the Judgment Day, but it didn't come into play until very late into a match that Mysterio had fought with Penta that was a really, really good match.
Yeah.
And Mysterio was showing us stuff like he was dropping Penta with Hurricane Ranas, and man, he was just looking solid all the way around. He hit a really nice slingshot senton. I want to say, the big move. The thing that blew my mind was Dominic Mysterio does a suicide dive out to Penta, and I think Michael even said, "Oh, a suicide dive," but that's because he called it before the move was over. It was a suicide DDT.
Yes.
So not just a cool ass suicide dive, but he jumps onto the top of Penta's head and spins him around into a DDT. And that blew my mind because that's the most probably technical move I've seen Mysterio attempt. But that's not where he was done, because later in the match, seemingly almost out of the blue, like he's like, "Oh, you're leaned up against the ropes." He just runs in and hits Oblivion like he's done it his whole life.
Yes.
Like as an homage to Liv Morgan, and it
A
looked
dude that
amazing.
size. A dude that
Yeah.
size doing Oblivion is amazing. And look, it was fantastic. Like, I'm telling you, Dominic looked I think he's never looked this good in the ring. Like, he went all out. This was not
Yeah.
a joke match. Like, he brought it in that
No.
ring.
And it wasn't even Mysterio is just defending himself against the far superior Penta. Like if Penta wasn't paying enough attention, Mysterio was there to kick his ass.
Yup.
So it was a great showing for Dominique. Or Dominic.
Yeah.
I don't know why I called him Dominique. Sorry. But yeah, it was really, really good until, the interference near the end. Kind of heading into the late part of the match, I want to say Penta hits Mysterio with the Mexican Destroyer on the ring apron. Let me say that again, on the ring apron. So, like, it's cool that Mysterio sells the Mexican Destroyer, but he just sold it on the ring apron. So, like, everybody's on the outside. And you see Carlito making his way down to the ringside area, but coming in from the other side, you've got JD McDonough, and the ref is distracted by Carlito, so he's looking that way, and he doesn't see JD McDonough and Finn Balor attempting to, lift Penta up. And Finn Balor is like, wait, I'll get a chair. And like JD's like, dude, because he was realizing that they've got a small amount of window here where the referee is distracted by Carlito, and he walks all the way over to try and get a chair, and then he comes back, and at this point the referee is watching him the whole time, and he's like, oh. And so the referee immediately ejects all of the Judgment Day from the ringside area.
Yeah. I
And
honestly felt like I honestly felt like he was going real slow on purpose. I think he was trying to get Dom to lose this match. I really do.
I think you're probably right. Like, I mean, it was obviously deliberate, but it wasn't overt.
Yeah,
Like he didn't overtly cost Dominic the match. He just screwed up interfering in Dominic's favor.
twice.
But that puts the Judgment Day kind of in at odds with the ref, who is leaning out of the middle rope, and this is on the side where the entrance ramp is. So all three of them are kind of over there. Well, Penta, who is kind of recovered inside the ring, takes out running and somersault planches over the back of the damn referee and lays out JD and Carlito. I'm not sure where Finn got off to, but he wasn't in the pile.
Yeah,
And
like a
so I'm sitting
psycho.
here, like, our first thought was like, okay, but where's Finn? What is he doing? Well, Penta gets back into the ring and super kicks Mysterio. And then the ref does get distracted by Finn, who looks like he's trying to step in. And we're both thinking, oh man, this is where Finn's going to screw it up for him and cost him the match. Well, it might have gone that way, save for the fact that as Penta ascended to the top rope to do, I'm assuming, some sort of dive onto the previously super kicked Dominic Mysterio, El Grande Americano appears and he climbs up on the apron and he gives that loaded headbutt to Penta, and Penta just like dead falls backwards off the top rope into the ring. And Dominic Mysterio's like, oh, well, that's convenient, and then climbs to the top rope and nails the frog splash to pick up the victory against Penta. And so that's how that match went. Holy crap, that was a great match.
And you reminded me. So I would like to officially uh recant my previous statement. Dominic Mysterio is one of the greatest luchadors ever to exist. I would ask for forgiveness from Grande Americano. I do acknowledge you as the ultimate luchador. That's all. That's all I like to say. Thank you.
The original and the ultimate. He is the Alpha Academy and Omega of Lucha Libre.
I don't appreciate the insinuation that they are the same person, and I will not stand for it. Chad Gable is an amazing wrestler. He is not El Grande Americano. Thank you.
Yeah, but you'd have a hard time arguing that El Grande Americano is not in his own right a Chad. You see what I did there?
You'll be here. You'll be here all day. Try the
all
deal, guys.
day.
Try
all
the
day.
deal.
So another fantastic match. We're going 3 for 3. This PLE is killer good.
Yeah. Yep.
And I'm trying to remember what our predictions were for this match. I think
I predicted that Finn Balor would cost him the belt, but that didn't happen. I think that's what I had done say it.
Yeah, and I'm trying to remember because I think in my head I didn't think Dominic was going to lose here.
Mm-hmm.
Because that would have been like another one where it's like a little too quick. Like, I know he's a heel, I know he's in the Judgment Day, and any day now he could lose the belt, but I didn't think he was losing here.
Yeah.
I do know that I don't think either of us predicted that it would be El Grande Americano intervening here.
No,
should
not at all.
seen it coming, and so should Penta, but I do think that we both agreed with your assessment that if it did end up costing Mysterio the belt, it would have something to do with Finn, either directly or indirectly.
Yeah.
Or maybe I should say overtly or not overtly. Because he definitely not overtly did not help Dominic Mysterio here.
This is true. He did no favors.
No, in fact, El Grande Americano, they might try and see if, he's looking to join the Judgment Day because he did more for Dominic than any of them.
This is also true. A real American hero.
Indeed. A real American hero of Lucha Libre.
There it is.
We also find out in between this match and the next one coming, which is going to be Pat McAfee versus Gunther, that Jey Uso will be putting his World Heavyweight Championship on the line against Logan Paul at the upcoming Saturday night's main event on May 24th. Because I remember we were kind of wondering, like, why isn't Jey and Logan on at Backlash? Apparently, they wanted that for Saturday night main event.
I'm okay with that.
Yeet.
Yeet.
All right. Now, before I dig too deep into Gunter Pat McAfee, I feel pretty strongly that my prediction was that, like, Goldberg was going to come back and intervene. And I think I even went so far as to strongly state that otherwise I don't see a reason for this match. I don't mind admitting I was incorrect. I don't remember if you agreed with that prediction or had one of your own. I do think neither of us saw McAfee winning this.
No. That I think that's the only prediction that I really had, was that I did not see McAfee winning this particular match. And I don't know if I said that but like, I agreed, but I thought that would be a really cool addition for sure. Because much like you, I didn't really see any other point for this match unless this was just like, unless this was like the comedic relief match. You know what I mean? Like, but I'll say that I ended up feeling a lot differently about this match at the end. This actually ended up being a pretty good match. And while Pat McAfee did look a bit rusty, and like, I even think he like flubbed a jumper or something like that, but it was no big deal because he got back up and got right back into it. The storytelling in this was phenomenal. The storytelling was good. The acting, the role that Michael ended up playing in this was good. He just kept tempting fate, man. He just kept tempting fate for his friend. Pat ended up looking good. Pat does a really good job of looking like a deer in some headlights too. And he did that a couple of times.
He does. Yeah.
Like, he just had this look on his face like, well, I think I have bitten off more than I can possibly chew. But even with all that, like, this is a really, I think this is probably the, like, I guess, second match for me, only because of the storytelling. It was good. And Gunther's always good to see. Like, Gunther looked every bit as dominant. Him losing that belt has not taken shit from him. He's still crazy in the ring. Yeah, I felt real good about this match. What did you think?
I feel exactly the same way. And I would like to say that this match, it wasn't about what the in-ring action that was going on. And I don't say that to imply that the in-ring action was bad, but this was very clearly a storytelling match. Yeah. And the story being told, originally I thought it had something maybe to do with Goldberg, and maybe that'll come on later down the line, but for this story, it was specifically that Pat McAfee was willing to stand up against a bully for his friend Michael Cole. It was what it said on the tin. No swerve, no special surprises.
Yeah.
It was that. And even though at the end of the day, realistically, he wasn't going to beat Gunter, unbelievably, he stood his ground a hell of a lot longer than most of the other roster members.
Yeah.
He put up a hell of a fight. He even fought his way like out of the sleeper. Yeah, I mean, he put up a real good fight against the sleeper, and he got in some shots of his own. And so McAfee, for any ring rust he may have, and the fact that he doesn't do this all that often, really went toe to toe with one of the top heel champion guys in Gunter.
Yeah.
And it's not because Gunter like went easy on him.
No.
Gunter was chopping McAfee like McAfee was wood.
Yeah.
And he kicked him in the face a fair number of times. He got kicked in the face by Pat McAfee a fair number of times. And to refer to the thing where there was a slight trip, I actually think that added to the story because, like, McAfee doesn't do this all the time. So McAfee stumbled with one foot, his back foot, when he leapt over the top rope from the apron to get back into the ring.
Yeah.
But he kept going, like you said. And to me, I felt like that just added to everything. Like the fact that this isn't what McAfee does all the time, and he hasn't done it in a while. It felt. I don't know that he did it on purpose. I'm not saying that, but even as an accident, it just fed into the story we were already being told.
Yeah. You're right. You're absolutely correct. It did not prevent. It didn't prevent anything. The story kept going, the match kept going, and I was still invested.
Yeah, and McAfee put up a hell of a fight. And it got to the point where Michael Cole was standing for most of this match, screaming at McAfee to just, let him pin you, or shouting at Gunter to just end the match, because McAfee just was like, never say die about this thing. And it was making Michael Cole feel probably a combination of worry and guilt. And so there's a point later on where Cole actually gets real close to the ring. He's like right at ringside, and that allowed Gunter to kind of get his hands on him. But Pat McAfee shut that shit down. And
yes, he did.
I want to say there was another part. Yeah, I think he yanked Michael Cole in and was going to attempt to powerbomb him, but like McAfee running big booted Gunter, and that allowed Michael Cole to roll back out of the ring, I think. And then later, I want to say Gunter attempted to suplex Pat McAfee, who was on the outside. He was on the apron, and Gunter was in the ring, and Gunter was going to do like one of those deadlift superplexes over the ropes. And instead, Pat McAfee kind of swiveled to turn it into like he landed on top of Gunter in almost like a crossbody. And during that pin, Michael Cole is holding Gunter's foot down.
Yeah.
And we're like going, Michael, you're trying to get yourself killed.
You're
Stop
asking for it.
You are begging to be murdered.
Like we're just like screaming at Michael for his life, for his safety. Like, would you stop?
Right? So in the end, Pat McAfee ultimately succumbs to the sleeper hold. But this was after a bang up match. I mean, far more of a match than I think any of us anticipated, and certainly it seemed more than Gunter anticipated.
For real.
So much so that after the match, instead of like continuing his attack on Cole or McAfee, Gunter actually kind of paid him a little bit of a respect and then left the ring. So it was kind of the heartwarming underdog story here, or the anti-bully story being told in the ring. And it was great. It was fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta do a lot to get some props from Gunther. Instead of Gunther just giving you props by just beating you up some more, he actually just tips his hat to you and leaves the ring. Yeah, you've done a great thing.
Yep. And so after the match, McAfee and Cole hug. Cole goes back to the desk. McAfee stays in the ring for a bit and gets cheered one more time by the St. Louis crowd. And then he rolls out and, like, very beat-upedly makes his way back to the back.
Yes.
But another really good match. Like, this was far better than I think anybody anticipated a match between Gunter and Pat McAfee would be.
Absolutely.
So, very well done. Um, that brings us to the final match of the night. I'll say up front, we predicted that Cena ain't dropping the title here, and we're not wrong. That said, there were some cool spots in the match, but it wasn't a great match. I think I'll turn it over to you to give your thoughts on how you felt about this match.
It was boring. And I'm going to say the audience was not. The audience was fully invested in this. They were cheering at the top of their lungs for Randy Orton. When he came out, every last one of these fuckers knew that goddamn own song. I mean, like all of them were hearing voices, okay? Everybody. I believe that this match was boring because of John Cena. I feel like this is going to be an unpopular. I feel like this is going to be an unpopular opinion. I haven't looked at anybody's comments on this match or on Backlash for that matter. So I don't know how people felt about this match, but for me, it was lackluster. It was more of the same. I will say that this was not as boring as the match between John Cena and Cody Rhodes. I can say that. And I think that's probably where my compliment ends with it. It was hard to stay invested in it. And again, that's even with the fans like losing their shit. It was also extremely cheesy. Excuse me. The stuff that happened in this match, and I think the intent was to kind of drudge up some nostalgia for everyone. And I guess I think that might be the deal for all of John Cena's matches this year. They're supposed to spark some feeling of nostalgia from that particular era. So I think this one was doing the same thing with all of the referee interferences, with knocking the referee down, and we all know the second that happens, here comes some bullshit. And then they bring in another referee, only to have that referee down. And instead of them bringing out another referee, a whole bunch of officials start running out into the ring to check on the second ref. I'm sorry. Make sure that you guys understand me. Instead of somebody coming out to do this 1, 2, 3 that Randy was waiting on, they all came out to check on the second ref. Screw the first ref, who was still down, by the way, by the steps dead. Like, flies were all on him and everything. Screw that guy. Lost cause. But this new guy, this precious, delicate, fragile man being, we must go and save him immediately. And that led to Randy Orton giving them all RKOs. Like, everything exciting that I could say about this match was Randy Orton. Honestly.
Yeah, and most of it,
sorry.
I was just going to add that most of the exciting stuff happens in like the last maybe 5-10 minutes of an otherwise overlong match.
Because for me, knocking the ref out, I already know that it's gonna be some bullshit. So I'm already uninterested because this is such an old trope in wrestling that it's just like, oh god, snooze. That happening not once but twice, and then the first ref who was dead for like 15 minutes, how he just magically comes to when it's time to do the 1, 2, 3 for John Cena. Okay. On top of that, John Cena was so slow. All of his moves are so low. I don't know why. I don't know what's going on. But for him so the way that he won, big surprise. It's the exact same way that he essentially won the match with Cody. This is why I said that this was like not that like because it was literally the same match, just a bit more exciting because of Randy Orton and because he was in his hometown. Honestly, because the audience was hyped. That was the only like exciting bit to this particular match. But John Cena himself, he walks faster to the ring than he does wrestling in the ring. Like he's so freaking slow. It I don't know how long it took him, at least a minute, minute and a half to do a move to Randy Orton and then go get his belt and come back in and then knock him. Like that took freaking forever. And then he laid down as slow as possible on top of Randy, and then here comes the ref, also as slow as fucking possible. Like,
Yeah, but
dude,
the ref's excuse is that he was at least coming
yeah,
to.
I mean,
But
he was
yeah,
coming back to life. He had been dead for 15 minutes, and nobody seemed to give a shit. So he has an excuse. But I don't know what John Cena's excuse was. I really don't. Like, it was just, my word, it was so slow, tiring, and the fact that he has this nonchalant, like, I really don't want to be here attitude when he's in the ring does not help his slow turtle ass. Like, it doesn't help. So yeah, this
yeah,
was not the match of the night. This is probably the weakest match of the night. And again, it's because of John freaking Cena. Because of him.
yeah.
If there's something that he's doing that I'm just not getting, then I am just not getting it. I apologize. I'm not getting it. Uh, it's just, I'm not picking up what he's putting down, y'all. I'm just not. Maybe I'm spoiled now. Maybe I need that Osprey action. I don't know. Maybe this old school shit just ain't for me. I don't know. But whenever that old school shit is presented at the speed of 1 mile per hour, then probably not interested. That's just me.
Yeah. I'm not even sure if I would say it's old school shit because we like we see old school stuff done by other people. That's like kind of the Outrunners whole
The
shtick,
Outrunners, yeah.
and
And
it's
I'm not
fine when
bored.
they do it. So this is a thing Cena's doing, and I feel like it's kind of deliberate, but like whether you're deliberately sucking or accidentally sucking, sucking is sucking. And I mean,
Yeah.
I didn't mean to cut you off. Are you ready for me to kind of give my
No,
opinion,
no, go
or
ahead, go ahead. Yeah. I
okay?
was pretty much done. Like my rant was just, I'm tired. I'm tired about it. I'm tired about Cena.
Yeah. First and foremost, let me start with what I thought might be worth or somewhat good about this match because it's not much, and I'll be done with it quickly. One, the fact that this takes place in St. Louis means that the crowd was absolutely over the moon for Randy Orton. Like,
Yeah.
I have never heard anyone sing so loud and so much of voices, and they blew the roof off for him. That was amazing. The other cool thing is if you came to see an RKO, you got your money's worth. I mean, if that's all you cared about was seeing some RKO action, you got probably a year's worth of RKOs in one match.
True.
Because Randy Orton RKO'd John Cena, I want to say at least once or twice. He RKO'd every one of the officials that came out there. And later on in the match, when he's about to punt kick Cena's head off, R-Truth comes in to save his childhood hero.
Ugh.
And of course, R-Truth ends up eating an RKO. Everybody got the RKO, including John Cena. And that's it. That's where it ends. The first, man, I want to say the first 3/4 of this match were just shit. And then later in the match, it starts to pick up, and I'm not saying it gets better. I'm just saying it starts to pick up. You know that we're closing in on the ending when Randy goes for the RKO and Cena pushes Orton into the first referee. And apparently getting love tapped by Randy Orton kills all other mortal men except his opponent in the ring. Because this ref was dead, like you said, for 15 minutes from getting bumped into by Randy Orton.
Yeah, DED.
And so that leads to Randy and Cena on the outside, and Cena looks like he's about to attempt to attitude adjust Randy into the announce table. Well, Randy's like, screw that. He kind of counters his way out of the attitude adjustment, picks up Cena, and instead attitude adjusts him through the announce table. Then he goes over, pulls out another table from under the ring, and takes Cena over to it, and then attitude adjusts him through that one. And then I want to say he rolls Cena into the ring and connects with the RKO again. And it's he probably could have gotten a 57 count, but the referee was dead, and Eddie Orengo, the second referee of this match, he was running, but he didn't get in there like super quick. So this leads to Orton arguing with Eddie Orengo. And while he's arguing with the referee, Cena slips out of the ring, goes and gets his title belt, comes back in, and immediately charges Randy Orton from behind. And Randy predictably, I was like, I don't even think I said anything other than, well, here goes Eddie Orengo clocked with the title belt. Because I saw it. I saw it from a fucking space that Randy Orton is going to duck and we're going to destroy the second ref. And that's exactly what happens.
Yeah.
And then Orton hits Cena with yet another RKO. And bizarrely, even though he saw Eddie Orengo just get laid out, goes for another pin when there's nobody to count it. And so he's just sitting there on top of Cena for another week and a half while the crowd is counting to 50,000. Until Nick Aldis and some of the other officials come out, and instead of any of those other officials or even the GM of SmackDown getting down there and counting 1, 2, fucking 3, they stop to attend to Eddie Orengo, who is irreversibly destroyed forever by this hit with the belt.
Yep.
And Orton ends up arguing with Nick Aldis, and so again from space, we're like, oh, these fuckers are getting an RKO. And, of course, they do. And then, for some reason, literally of the, 5 guys in the ring, Nick Aldis gets an RKO, and then one guy runs at Orton, gets an RKO. The next guy, who was waiting his turn patiently, runs at Orton, gets an RKO. By the third or fourth guy, you would think they would have figured out maybe to not run directly at Randy Orton.
Maybe don't run at him. Maybe
instead
just leave him alone.
Get out of the ring.
Maybe roll away.
And I mean, I'm not complaining at seeing an RKO. I'm complaining at how contrived this bullshit match is.
That's the word.
That's the real problem here, is that this was so much contrivance with referee bullshit and then an army coming out that instead of counting the count, they all work on the ref and then one by one take an RKO. And I'm like, I'm not trying to be unfun in wrestling, but this was ridiculous. Even little children would be like, I wonder why they didn't just count. I mean, this was stupid. And then, of course, like I said, after he's RKO'd literally everyone to death, Randy Orton goes over and looks down and sees John Cena's in the position for the punt kick. So he goes to the other end of the ring. And he starts to deliver the punt, and that's when R-Truth comes out of nowhere like an RKO to defend John Cena and then eats an RKO. Unfortunately, this allows John Cena to pick up the belt and obliterate Randy Orton with it. Well, no, I'm sorry. I'm skipping ahead. Randy Orton seems frustrated after RKOing R-Truth and doesn't see that Cena's kind of moved behind him, and Cena hops up on his knees and crawls over really fast and delivers a from behind low blow on Orton that just makes him slowly melt into the middle rope. And then Cena waits for Orton to kind of stand back up and demolishes him with the belt. So it is exactly like the Cody Rhodes match all over again. Referee fuckery and hit him with the belt. And of course, after doing this, now the original dumb fucker ref is just in time to crawl back in and count the 1, 2, 3. And Cena, after the match, picks up the microphone and says he doesn't need music, he doesn't need competition. He sure as hell doesn't need the WWE Universe. Drink it in because this is what the last real champion looks like. Barf. And that's what we get as the show goes off the air. That was the grand finale. If you were to lop this off, this would be a near perfect PLE.
Yeah.
The main event is the only black spot for this PLE because you heard us as we were describing all of the matches that preceded this dumpster fire. They were all great. Unfortunately, the main event tanked it for us. Like, this was just not good.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, honestly, it wasn't good, man. It just wasn't. And again, I'm fully acknowledging that the audience was 130% into it. So they were adding a bit of excitement to this match that otherwise would have been it just wouldn't have been there. And even with that, it just wasn't enough. Because the in-ring work was
All of the in-ring work that was worth anything came from Randy Orton exclusively.
Yep.
And that still doesn't excuse like how this match played out. I mean, it was just so, like, I think the word you used was cheesy, and I said contrived, and it was both of those things.
Yeah, tantamount to the same. Yes.
The excessive amount of referee fuckery, the stupidity with Nick Aldis and the officials that were out there. It was just too ridiculous to be believed.
Yeah. Like, I'm so sorry, but so cheesy. Just the cheesy most.
Yeah, I'm not sure if the tone for whatever Cena's doing with the belt is meant to be taken seriously or if we're supposed to treat it like a joke, because if this is how it's going to be going forward, it is absurd enough to be a joke. I don't know if that's their intention, but the fact that this essentially played out identically to the not great match at WrestleMania with Cody Rhodes, and now we have a not great match at Backlash with Randy Orton. I mean, is my expectation going forward to just like tune out of these Cena matches because they're trash? And I mean, I'm with you. I mean, maybe some people are into it. I know St. Louis is into whatever Randy Orton was doing because it's Randy fucking Orton, right?
Yeah.
But this ain't their podcast. This is our podcast, and we thought this match sucked ass. So, you feel free to disagree. Leave a comment. Maybe you can explain why it didn't suck ass to us, because we have taken the time to explain why it did.
Yeah.
It was bad, in our opinion. Not good.
No. I mean, I just was not here for any of this. And you guys know that I'm here for a lot of shit. It wasn't this match. Was not.
Yep. I hate to do it, but if I'm gonna rate this, we were sitting at a 9, and the main event was such a downer that it's gonna knock it down to a 7.5. They lose a full 1.5 for how shit this main event was, because it's the main event, and it was a shit match. So it's just shy of top tier for me.
Yeah. I'm gonna use the average grade system like I've done before, and I'm gonna give this an 8. It would have been, like, honestly, if the main event had been a banger, this would have been a 10 for me. Right? So I'm gonna give 20% for each match. And I'm not gonna count any of the, promos, because they're really, like you said, no promos, just commercials.
Yeah.
Like, so none of that's relevant. So each match gets a full 20%, and I'd have to take a whole 20% away, just because the main event was ass garbage trash. So you would get an 80% for me. That's an 8. Because every other match, guys, so good, exceeded my expectations. Some of them. Dominic Mysterio, MVP of the night, great show, except for the main event. And I feel like that's going to be the theme for every PLE they do, where John Cena is the main event. I feel like this is going to be a friggin' theme. But I digress. 8 was my number. 8 Nick Nubs, however you want to put it. Great PLE except for the fucking main event.
Yep, fully agree. I think you started higher than I would have been. So we're not too far off. Mine was a 9 and it dropped a point and a half for the main event.
Yeah,
Yours was a 10 and it dropped basically 2 points.
Yes.
So there you have it, everybody. That's been our review of Backlash. And I want to thank everyone who joined us for this episode. And I invite you to join us for our next episode, which should be our coverage of Monday Night Raw, where we will hear the backlash of Backlash. Until then, I don't think there's very much for me to do but roll the outro.
Bye, guys.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Top Tier Wrestling. We hope you enjoyed our deep dive into the latest WWE news and shows. You can find us on all major podcast platforms as well as our YouTube channel where we upload all of our episodes. You can also follow us on Instagram and X for updates and to join the conversation. Until next time, everyone, remember, wrestling is always better when it's top tier.